In the spirit of this video's topic, I will now record myself saying the title, reverse it, record myself saying it backwards, then reverse that. That's right, I'm gonna get all Twin Peaks waiting room on ya. What is the stupidest thing you've done just to show you could do it? Story 1. The Cinnamon Challenge. I've always been good at those weird food challenges, so I did it pretty easily. But some people really messed up their lungs trying it. My sister-in-law did this, and now she's allergic to cinnamon. Never realized how many things have cinnamon before then. I'm allergic to cinnamon too. I never saw anybody else, so yay! Sad thing is, I used to be a baker. Went to pastry school and everything. Also, autumn is my favorite season. Pumpkin spice everything, all the things. Pumpkin pie, apple pie, cinnamon rolls, apple cider, cinnamon-scented everything for 3 to 4 solid months. From autumn till after Christmas sucks because they have absolutely cinnamon-scented pine cones at every store entrance. And for some reason, a store still had them recently a few months after Christmas. Cinnamon Toast Crunch used to be my favorite cereal. I used to make my famous snickerdoodle cookies, buckets at a time for friends and family. I miss Cinnamon Toast. So simple and delicious. I never had a Cinnabon, and I guess I never will. Silver lining, I started baking again last autumn and decided to just make my own pumpkin pie spice and cinnamon. So I still get to have nice autumny foods, I just gotta make them myself. My brother used to say he'd commit sinicide just by blowing it in my face. Other brothers sent me a pic of snickerdoodles saying they reminded him of me because they'd unalived me. Not true, but I'd be very ill. Today, my fiancé said he'd take a shot of Fireball and kiss me, and just generally start drinking it every night. Meanwhile, my mom keeps separate goods for me at her house. Alternate hand soaps. Of course, hers have some sort of cinnamon in the autumn Christmas months. Make apple butter sans cinna, and just be a generally good lookout for me for added cinnamon and things. Too long didn't read? Cinnamon allergy sucks. I remember that challenge. I had no idea it caused some people to become allergic. I guess that sort of runs along the line of diabetes. If you keep eating too much sugar, something switches in you, and now it can unalive you. I would think you'd have to take doses of cinnamon over a long period of time for you to become allergic to it. I guess that's not the case. Story 2. Jumped illegally over the China-Myanmar border and back again. Edit. Well, this blew up. This was in 2002. I was in China legally, in the town of Ruili, Yunnan province. Across a small stream and 2 thin strings of barbed wire was the city of Musée, White Elephant City, Myanmar, which was closed to foreigners at the time. A group of opium addicts were smoking in the thick bushes growing near the border and invited me over for a chat. I saw no border guards were within line of sight of me, so I did. We had an interesting chat in a mixture of English and Chinese. Later, I wandered into the closest narrow street lined with dilapidated white wooden buildings with bearded men in sarongs wandering around. I bought a Burmese noodle dish. No alcohol available in that state. Then I hightailed it back to the same crossing spot and over, about 90 minutes after I first went over. Ruili, China is, or at least was, a lawless borderland, with all the vices that lawless border towns typically attract. My crossing was the least of the local authorities' worries. I wouldn't repeat it or recommend it to anyone, though. Lucky you're not rotting away in a nasty old prison cell. Hey, they wouldn't let him rot away, unless there was something fundamentally wrong with his organs. Some people I met did the same thing on the China-Vietnam border, but with their motorbikes. It ended relatively well. They were bussed back to the border by the Chinese police. Unfortunately, they had to go through the embassy to get their bikes back. I do not know what ended up happening with them, though. Edit. This is the spot. After the polls, it's China. I didn't realize there was such a gap there. I think when all of us think of Chinese borders, we think of the Great Wall of China. Didn't realize you could just step on over. It's an interesting way to describe the food, though. Oh yeah, dude, you gotta try these noodles. They are risk crossing the border illegally good. Story 3. Walked through the brush of our tree line to get a football to prove it wasn't poison ivy. I did it. I got the football. It was poison ivy. I once did something similar, but it turns out I'm immune to poison ivy. The rest of my friends? Not so much. Fun fact, poison ivy in humans is like chocolate for dogs. It only affects 40 to 60% of things. With chocolate for dogs, it affects them enough to just avoid all dogs from all chocolates just to be safe. With poison ivy in humans, only a certain percent get the effects. However, just because you don't get the effects the first time, such as itchiness and rashes, you can easily get them the second or third, etc. You can handle poison ivy like 20 times thinking you're immune. Then all of a sudden, the 21st time hits you like a brick. Like chocolate for dogs, even if you think you're okay, it's still best to just avoid. Like dogs and grapes. Just had to get my dumb old Chihuahua Shih Tzu's stomach evacuated at an emergency vet. Then she came out black from the charcoal they tried to give her to soak up the toxins. You know, just in case she's in the percentage of dogs that a grape can unalive. Came home and ran around with my other dogs like nothing ever happened. Too long didn't read? Grapes may or may not be poison to dogs and cats. Pick the odds, and may they forever be in your favor. I didn't realize chocolate was that much of a percentage. I thought it was a for sure thing that this substance would just completely expire them. And I had no idea about the grapes. You'd think that something natural and healthy like grapes would be harmless to dogs. But then poison ivy is a leaf, so that kind of logic is just going out the window considering how that affects humans. Story 4. Won a donut eating contest. In 10 minutes, I ate about 17 donuts, and seconds before the time was up and I had all my thoughts set on having a healthy, cleansing puke, a mother sucker who wasn't even taking part yelled that throwing up afterwards should disqualify you. Somebody counted that I took in a few days' worth of calories. My appetite came back 2 days after. A mother sucker who wasn't even taking part yelled that throwing up afterwards should disqualify you? Ridiculous! You ate the most donuts in the allotted time frame. Everything after that doesn't matter. Yeah, it should only be if you throw up during the event are you disqualified. Edit. To all the comments about eating their own throw up, I was only considering someone not doing that as I couldn't do that myself. But I agree. I don't know. My son was in a pie eating contest a few years back, and he was neck and neck with the girl next to him about halfway through the pie before she threw it up on the table in front of her. Did that stop her, though? Nope. She quickly ate her puke, finished the pie, and still took first place. Even typing this, I gagged at that memory. We all agreed, though, she 100% deserved that win. Story 5. When I was 6, I stapled my fingers because I had convinced all my friends that I had iron hands. I was around that age too, and I was fiddling around with a stapler and stapled my pointer fingers together. It was the skin just next to the nails, so it barely hurt. I went downstairs to tell my mom, who was doing laundry, that I stapled my fingers together. I still remember the look on her face to this day. Edit. Then again, that was yesterday, so of course I remember. Since grade 6, I've stapled my thumb at least once a year. I stapled my thumb the first time because I wanted to demonstrate to my friends how a classmate stapled his thumb. And since then, I've stapled my thumb while showing various people how I stapled my thumb the first time. I did the same thing a couple years ago at my old job. I was about 28 at the time. Was holding the top part of the stapler, the bottom was on the desk, and for some reason, I leaned on it, stapled my middle finger in front of a bunch of colleagues and customers. Felt like a right idiot. Story 6. Cliff diving. Saw an old man do a front flip off a 40-foot cliff. I said if he can do it, so can I. I did the flip all right, followed by a belly flop that Zeus could hear. Knocked the air out of me, but luckily people were floating nearby to save my dumb butt. I bruised my butt by jumping off a similar height rock and landing in a seated position. How was the enema? I've literally never told anyone this except the doctor at the hospital, but that happened to me too. I got thrown off a jet ski at 70 miles per hour and hit the water butt first and then smacked my head. Pooped my pants, sprained my neck, had a concussion, and sprained a shoulder. 0 out of 10 do not recommend. Edit. Wow, thanks for the award. I'm glad that my poopy jet ski story made so many people laugh. I'm okay now, just a few issues with my shoulder, and will never get on a jet ski again. I remember doing a belly flop in a pool just for fun. I remember how much that hurt. I can't imagine the pain this person must have gone through. His belly must have been beyond red. The sound of that flop probably made you feel like you broke skin or something. Like you cracked open your stomach like an egg. Story 7. Excuse me. In 2001, my sister got me a Sony phone. A tiny little thing with a flip-down front. She worked in a phone shop and got a discount. On the box, it said the phone was waterproof and there were tiny rubber seals in place. I believed them. At the pub where I worked, this aspect came up in conversation. Some guy said the phone couldn't be waterproof, and that showerproof was probably more accurate. Remembering the box, I argued the point and dropped my phone into a pint of beer in an effort to prove it. I was wrong. Brutal but well-earned life lesson. Oh my God, my friend did something similar at a bar years ago. She had a case called Life Proof, and she swore it made her phone indestructible. So she picked it up, slammed it on the table, and shouted, "Life Proof!" When she lifted it up, her entire screen was shattered. Yeah, mine just fizzled out and died. Wounded. Back to my old Nokia in those days. Nokias will outlive us all. Story 8. Chugged way too much apple cider vinegar. Huge mistake. I regularly do apple cider vinegar shots. I get horrible heartburn and tried every single solitary thing. Nothing helped. A few pages deep into Google and someone suggested apple cider vinegar. At that point, I had nothing left to lose, so down it went. Heartburn was gone 5 minutes later. Absolutely amazing. Edit. This blew up overnight. 2 things to add. First, dilute it. Add water. Some people mention honey, and avoid it touching your teeth. Second, heartburn can also be caused by low acid production. This also had a host of other things associated with it. Acid neutralizers, calcium chews or the like do nothing for me, or act like a Band-Aid. Heartburn is back a few hours later. Apple cider vinegar works for a few days to a few months for me. Please do dilute it with water before swallowing, though. Undiluted apple cider vinegar is hell on your tooth enamel and the lining of your esophagus. Story 9. I was about 4 years old and my grandfather was making something with buttermilk. I saw it in his hand and I cried and screamed and begged to have some. He kept saying, "No, you won't like it." But I persisted. He finally poured me an entire glass. I took one swig and I'm sure he could see the disgust on my face because he looked like he had won. I stared at him right in his eyeballs as I chugged the entire glass. Ha! My kids did this with Baker's chocolate. They, at the time 9 and 6, begged for a piece. They ate it, and I could see the disgust in their faces. But they had to be all alpha and be, "It's good," and then had another piece. Morons. I had eating chocolate in the pantry. Should have told them since they like it so much, that's the only chocolate you'll buy them from now on. Dad? I bet they would have changed their tune if they called them out on that. Sure, there's stubbornness and being headstrong, but at least they have some resolve. You can only hope that when they grow up, they'll take that characteristic and use it for things that matter, and not for things that are petty. We have too many Karens in this world. Story 10. Something in my throat, sorry. I was learning MMA for 3 months when some guy challenged me to a fight. I immediately accepted it because I wanted to impress my crush by beating him. Turns out he was a national champion and was in the state for an MMA tournament. I got my butt kicked for a solid 3 rounds. At least you made it 3 rounds. Why on earth would a national champion butt kicker challenge somebody who has been training for 3 months? What did you do to this guy to upset him? Something similar happened in my sister's gym. She was practice fighting, and this newer guy would constantly go as hard as he could like he was trying to do real damage in practice. He got called out on it. He started arguing. Then a trainer/pro fighter immediately put him in his place. I think he said something along the lines of, "If you want to go hard, we can go hard." Story 11. I stabbed my leg with a pencil in elementary school. I told people I couldn't really feel much pain, which at the time was true. There was a spot on my leg from the lead for years. I still have a piece of graphite in my left hand from getting stabbed with a pencil 33 years ago. Edit. All you mad lads with a piece in your absolute eyeballs? All right already, you win. I have a graphite pencil mark in my leg from grade 2. My lunch buddy stabbed me when I tried to kick him under the desk. I'm 54 years old. I had a part of a thorn get stuck in the top of my middle finger that I could never get out, but I could always see it underneath a layer of skin. I finally couldn't see it anymore about a year ago. Always wondered what my body did to it. Story 12. Not me, but one of my former coworkers told us about the time he ate a tub of butter on a dare. He made it about halfway through and had to throw up. He said what came out was neon yellow. For the next month, the smell of butter made him gag, and when he perspired, he could still smell it. You'd think he'd learn, but he attempted the butter tub challenge a second time. This time, he paced himself and actually finished the whole thing. He said the cock-up, though, was eating it before having to catch a train. While he was waiting, his heart was racing, and he felt so amped up. He did push-ups and jumping jacks at Penn Station. I don't even like the stuff. Butter dare's a dare. That's rich coming from a croissant. Blurred motivational story. Is it really a challenge if you pace yourself? At that point, you're just worried about the danger of eating all that in one sitting. Even drinking a lot of water in one sitting can be bad for you. Hopefully you won some money off of that second time. Now, at this point, you think I'm going to go for the reverse talking trick again. But I'm not going to. Story 13. Punched a giant plate glass window out of a jewelry shop in Palm Springs when I was 21. Total drunk peen energy. Window slashed my hand wide open, and all I remember is seeing my buddy sprinting away when the store alarm started blaring. My other friend picked me up in front of the store. Blood was literally spraying out of my hand all over his back seat, and he got me to the hospital and into ICU. When the emergency room doctor pulled out a 6-inch needle, I passed out cold. Woke up about 12 hours later with a throbbing headache, bandaged up hand. Finals started the next week, and I couldn't write with my left hand, so had to use my right. Also took me a good year to get my dexterity back to play guitar. Total jerkwad move on my part.
Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 14. There comes a point in every drunk man's life where he finds himself standing on the edge of a precipice. Apartment building roof, staring into the distance at glory, an absolute tree, separated from him by a challenge, a 3-story fall. The weak man will shrug his shoulders, slink back to safety, and carry on with his night as if he never glimpsed what could have been. But the bold, stupid man will look across the chasm and see the greatness that awaits him on the other side. He will stride to the edge, hand off the extra reserve of courage, beer, that he no longer needs for what must be done. He will stare into the heavens and proclaim into the night, "I can jump that far." It turns out that I could not jump that far. Story 15. Parents put a curfew on the computer when I was around 12 during summer break. No gaming from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. A reasonable person would go to bed at 10 or 10:30 and wake up at 7 to play, right? 12-year-old me just stayed up until 6 a.m., woke up my parents, and played until noon. Then perished until dinner. Rinse and repeat for a few days until my parents got sick of waking up at 6 a.m. Then I went back to gaming until like 2 a.m. That's one way to solve the problem. True, but only worked because my parents gave in. If they stuck to their guns, my gaming time would have shrank since I was only gaming like 6 hours a day with that 8-hour dead period. Your sleep schedule would have been really messed up. Was this during the summer? What about school? I tend to say if a kid is getting their schoolwork done and they're getting good grades, let them game as much as they want. It sounds like their brain is really active and they need something to help them take their mind off work. Story 16. Put a cigarette out on my arm Logan style, X-Men, because some dudes in my class didn't believe me when I told them I didn't feel much pain in the arms. I still don't, but got a real bad infection. The beating of a lifetime from my mom, first and last beating I ever got just for my stupidity, and the scar on my arm is luckily not big, but kinda ugly. Edit. Even if I swore to never edit something because of this, I simply have to. I can't believe my first post with more than 5 upvotes is about my stupidity. But I'm glad to read I wasn't the only one stupid enough to do something like this. The difference is Logan from X-Men has a healing factor. So do I. It's just slower. Story 17. Shoved my pointer finger into my nose up to the second knuckle. I then got a sinus infection. Who knew? My daughter did that to me when she was 2. Then she hooked her finger and pulled. Had a terrible blood nose, and for a few days if I sneezed it would start back up. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. I audibly gasped when I read this and wish I hadn't read it at all. I did it in the shower while washing my face in a hurry. Accidentally jammed my pinky pretty much as far as it would go up my nostril. It hurt like lightning had just struck my face. Then a drop of blood, then another, then drip, 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 drip. Pretty sure I brained my damage that day. Story 18. When I was around 12, I was neglecting to flush my pee. Too busy playing Armored Core. So my dear mother brings me into the bathroom and tells me if I don't flush next time, she's going to dip my hands in the pee. I looked at her, made a hammer fist, smashed it in the toilet, covered myself in pee, only a little on her, thank God. I wasn't even a malicious child, just salivated at the opportunity to show I could withstand the punishment and was thus unafraid. I could imagine a little 12-year-old thinking he's bad stuff dripping with pee, and his mom completely terrified of his immense power. Oh my God, I just laughed out loud and woke up my fiancé. Mine ain't waking up. Yeah, as kids, we kind of test which hills we're willing to perish on, but they're really not worth it in the end. I guess it's part of growing up, figuring out what you're willing to put up with. Well, kids grow up challenging their parents at some point. Usually it's a lot younger, too. Story 19. I, at age like 9 or 10, wanted a cookie that my friend had. Said friend proceeded to completely lick the entire cookie. Still want it? He said, holding it out. Dumb butt me proceeded to grab it and eat it in one bite. Total power move looking back on it. Gotta assert your dominance. Ultra peen energy. Meanwhile, he too sees it as a power move and still tells people the story to this day of the most hardcore kid he ever met who took a cookie from him after he licked it while he stared in shock and awe at the brass of this man and child's clothing before him. Story 20. Haha, you thought I was done with that. Let someone shock my wrist with a dog's shock collar. He called me a coward. I had no other choice. I had a high tolerance for pain in high school. Definitely got tased a bunch because we thought it was funny. I mean, it was funny, but it was dumb. Running into doors at full speed, putting staples in my stomach, I was dumb. Steve-O is extremely popular for starting to do those same things in his youth. I stopped using an electric fence for my dogs after I accidentally zapped myself once. I spent the next week apologizing and giving out unlimited numbers of treats. Story 21. I proved to myself that it's possible to eat 5 kilos of shrimp in one sitting. I also proved that eating 5 kilos of shrimp in one sitting will make you very, very sick. Agreed. Red Lobster did all-you-can-eat shrimp once, and I considered it a challenge. I sat down and immediately asked my waitress what the most shrimp she had seen a person eat was. Oof. I work on a shrimp trawler, so I get free shrimp, and I took full advantage of that. See, thing is, these people are eating cooked shrimp. You didn't have to deal with all that garlic butter. Story 22. As a kid, I told my friends I could hold my breath for a long time. Long enough to pass out, in fact. And that's exactly what I proceeded to do. My friends and I used to have those breathing contests in the pool where you'd go underwater and see who could hold in their breath the longest. I'm a really competitive person, so of course I won. I passed out in the pool when I was 9 doing this. The lifeguard was too busy flirting to care, and he thought I was faking it. Holy hell, did you survive? No. Story 23. Did 5 pull-ups on an antenna strut 400 feet up on an antenna tower not tied off. Reading this gave me anxiety. I have an almost unnatural fear of heights. I firmly believe that not being afraid of heights is unnatural. Try having the issue of wanting to jump. It's really weird. The closer you get to the edge, the stronger the urge gets to jump. Forget the name for it, but it's a real thing, and there's dozens of us. Actually, that's what got me into diving as a youth. Gotta scratch that itch and actually jump. Story 24. Drank a ridiculous amount of alcohol for my body weight to show off to a date. She had to drive herself back to her town with my friend with benefits that joined us for the night in the passenger seat, and me dying in the back of my own vehicle from a rotten case of alcohol poisoning. Never, ever again. Not surprised she wasn't into me after that. Hell, I wouldn't be into me after that. Hold up. You had a friend with benefits in a car with a date at the same time? Story 25. Remained standing through as much Taser as possible. My friend used up the battery on himself and said he was trying to get used to it. He said that eventually he would be able to remain standing. I said, what the hell, and tried. It's not easy fighting electroconvulsive action. We tasted ourselves and each other a bunch of times. I don't think we got better at resisting it. I say taser bit. I really mean stun gun, no prongs. Tell me more about tasting yourselves. Story 26. Played that stupid 5-finger Filet game with a compass back when I was in school. As I got more confidence, I obviously got faster, and inevitably the point went right into the side of my fingertip. Total idiot. I played that stupid game at scout camp. I stopped after one of the younger scouts got too cocky because he could go faster than us older guys and sliced about half an inch into the webbing between his fingers. I can still see the blood. Story 27. I told my friends I could jump off a 2-story roof and not get hurt. Guess who only got a scraped knee that day? Not me. I broke my leg. Parkour people, on the other hand, can do a safety roll and be mostly unharmed, aside from some mild pain. I wonder if they learned it from playing Ocarina of Time. Story 28. Snuck into the Hilton and confiscated a white robe. Got caught, and they let me go without checking my backpack. That's alcohol for you. Confiscated. They don't deserve these robes. I'ma take them back for the people. Surprised they didn't check it. Was it 100% genuine Turkish cotton like the legends speak of? Story 29. Ate the largest box of Goldfish in one night in college. Don't do this. Oh my God, I thought this was talking about real goldfish. Yeah, I totally just pictured Jonah Hill from the Wolf of Wall Street scene. Also, I'm hella high. The one that looks like a huge milk carton? Story 30. Was trying to do this stunt on a dirt bike to impress this dude. Ended up falling and breaking my collarbone. R.I.P. And then you guys got married, right? He's married now with kids. And well, me? I'm still single. Story 31. Ate 2% of my body weight in chicken nuggets. Similarly, got high one night, ordered 4 20-piece McNuggets. Think I got to 52 before puking, then tried to eat more after that. Haven't really had McNuggets since. Story 32. One friend gets super creeped up when someone starts running at him like a dog. My friend realized I'm an expert in running like a dog. I, too, would be creeped out. Story 33. Many hot sauce-related things. Drank an entire bottle of Tabasco once. Not the little bottle either. the around 20-ounce one. Story 34. I let a black widow spider bite me to prove that they were venomous but not deadly. I also won a $150 bet. All right, here we go, last one. Story 35. Crushing beers on my forehead. Still stupid. I'll still do it.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.